Going to ask everybody to please stay on mute, and you can unmute when you're called upon. And colleagues, board members, if you want to ask a question, please just use Zoom to indicate that you have a question. The Waterloo Regional Police Service Board is committed to building a better, safer, and more equitable Waterloo region for all citizens. We understand that this vision can only be achieved through meaningful and respectful collaboration with our local partners. As such, we have initiated these 2 input opportunities for the first time and look forward to hearing from those who have reached out. Delegates will be introduced and we will have 5 minutes to present the board your thoughts and comments, and then there will be followed by an opportunity for questions by board members. Before I introduce the delegates one at a time, there are a couple of guidelines for participation. Please leave your video. You're welcome to leave your camera on or off, but leave your audio and microphone on mute until you're called upon to speak. After you've spoken, please turn your video off. You will have 5 minutes, and there are some rules of engagement, and if they're not followed, there will be immediate removal from the meeting. And this is interrupting other delegates or members of the board when they're asking questions, derogatory statements, turning your camera on or off at appropriate times, or any hate speech or defamatory comments. And one last observation to the delegates, please do not be offended if after your presentation, board members don't have questions, because we are here to listen and we're very interested to hear what your comments are that you're sharing with us. So the first delegate who has 5 minutes is Sarah Ropp, representing KW Habilitation Center. Sarah, welcome, and you have 5 minutes.
Thank you so much. My name is Sarah Ropp, and I'm an associate director with KW Habilitation, located in Kitchener. And I just want to first thank you for the opportunity to join you today. I think it really shows commitment to your community and the openness to work with community partners such as myself in building safety for all in our community. So just a little bit about who we are. KW Habilitation is an agency that supports adults and children with developmental disabilities. We support in all areas of their lives, from group living, supported independent living, employment, volunteer, community participation, any aspect of their life that they choose to create the most meaningful life for themselves. We, through our support individuals with complex needs, mental health, dual diagnosis, transitional age youth, those with addictions, and those that do touch the justice system from time to time. We've always had very good luck and a great partnership with the local emergency services, and we really hope that's going to continue. Some of the things I just wanted to share today on behalf of my agency is a few things that moving forward, if possible, we would like to see. And that certainly falls into 2 categories. And one is the opportunity to work in a more collaborative way. And the other is training and education on both sides. So the first, I just want to touch a little bit on that we feel is super important is the opportunity, again, to be more collaborative with our local police services, to have opportunities to share resources back and forth, to be able to have a linkage that if we are in need of support and services, we can do that in a quick and timely manner, and not always needing to call 911 or tying up emergency services in another way. So perhaps, like I said, a linkage in some way, community officers, someone in a role such as that we know we could call upon to ask questions, to seek support and those sorts of things. We're really big at KW Hab on building partnerships in our community, and doing that with the local police force is no different. We want to make sure that we always have a seamless and well-working relationship, and that goes both ways. So if there's ever a time, again, that on your end, there's something that's needed, we have the right resources and links in place that you'd be able to reach out and get the information needed as well. Sometimes we find those systems do break down, and just coming to some sort of proper line of communication, I guess, would be helpful, I think, on both ends. The other piece I just wanted to speak to is around training and education. And like I said, when I started talking, we feel this goes on both ends. Certainly, we would be willing and open to working together on a training plan for officers, frontline officers, on what it is that we do as a service. In the past, sometimes there is misunderstandings around the services we offer being voluntary. We can't force individuals to do things. People with disabilities take risks. We support them to take risks, and sometimes they don't always have, the most positive outcome, as with anyone else. And we want to create, again, those partnerships and education opportunities where frontline officers understand what that looks like for an individual with a disability, how to respond in situations. If there's a crisis, what do we need when those responses happen? Again, we've had very great success in the past when responses have been needed, but feel perhaps there could be some education offered around disabilities, services, supports, and what those look like for individuals.
Sarah, you have 1 minute remaining.
Okay, I'm almost done. In saying that, also education coming back towards us, we'd be very interested in. We know there's a growing need around human trafficking and understanding what that could mean for individuals with disabilities, particularly transitional age youth. Again, services and supports that you offer that might be beneficial that we don't know exist. So that collaborative education piece going back and forth would be super important moving forward. Thank you so much for your time. I am super grateful that I could come and speak with you today.
Thank you, Sarah, very much for coming. And I neglected to point out that our leadership, Chief Crowell, Deputy Davis, and Deputy Fenton are on as well. So I would offer that if they have any questions of the delegation, please join in. Karen Quigley-Hobbs.
Thanks for coming today, Sarah. Just a quick question. The organization is, could you just describe the size in terms of clientele and staff?
Sure. Our staffing complement right now sits around 520 to 550. So we are a fairly large organization in the developmental sector for sure. We support, I would say, probably around 220 individuals. Again, that is in group living situations. Under our employment and volunteering community, we have about 130 individuals we support in those areas as well. And then around another 120 in residential situations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I see no other questions, but Sarah, I'm very familiar with your organization and the great work you do. And I do really appreciate, I'm sure the whole board does, that you've come in a spirit of collaboration in offering solutions and future relationships. So we will certainly take that under advisement. Sandy?
Yeah, just before she goes, I wonder if Chief Kroll or one of the deputies could just or is there someone that can be a contact for her going forward? This isn't totally a budget question. I think there's a little more to it than that. But
Chief, who would like to respond to that?
I'm happy to. Thank you very much for a very positive collaborative delegation. So I will ensure that we follow up with you as soon as possible to set up an engagement to address your suggestions. And there's no doubt that we can strengthen the partnership and that would serve our membership well in the community. So thank you very much for your delegation. We'll be in touch very soon.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The next delegation is Harold Druitz, representing Kitchener Tax Watch Group. Welcome, Harold, and you have 5 minutes.
Thank you. Hello, Regional Chair, Chief, Police Board members, and all of you working in police services. Thank you for having this session. A couple of points to start. Format, I expected it would be more interactive process as opposed to members of the public giving presentations. Further, I would have thought this input session would have taken place prior to the first submission to the police board. Will the input from the session have the opportunity to be incorporated or make a difference to the 2024 budget. Consumer price index or inflation. The average for 2022, the monthly average was 6.8%. The police budget was 9.2, an unfavorable difference of 2.4. For 2023, the average monthly annual increase was 4.1%. Police budget 7.6% for an unfavorable of 3.5. Those numbers were through the end of September. So each 1% is worth 2.2 million additional cost. I know the makeup of police spending is completely different than the ingredients of CPI. However, CPI is a base on which many companies, including government and government agencies, take into consideration when increasing people wages. Even OAS and CPP increases take the CPI into consideration. So, for 2 years in a row, the taxpayer's ability to pay for the police budget has been decreased by at least 2.4% for 2022 and another 3.5% for 2023. The accumulated total is almost 6% over 2 years alone, or an additional 13.2 million. Actually, if you look back to your records of the last decade, the police budget increases have always been higher than the CPI by around at least 2%. This increase is hard to swallow since 90% of the budget is salaries. I really have not heard of wage increases to this amount. In 2022 and 2023, typical annual year-over-year wage increases is between 3.5 and 4.5% for the average Canadian. Another concern. It seems as though the duties and responsibilities of the individual police officer is ever expanding. This really limits an officer's ability to be available for patrolling and answer emergency calls, etc. From the police officer friends, I know writing reports does take a lot of time. A high portion of reports are written after the shift at a time and 1/2 rate. Is there not any way this can be reduced for the officers and passed on to the Secretariat of or reporting pool of people paid at a lower rate? Now I see there's something in the 2023 budget, page 28, item number 15, real-time police reporting. I'm just wondering how that is coming along. How about considering dictation on the job, then passed on to secretary, then the officer reviews the report when she reports for the next shift? Have options been looked into to address this, to make usage of time of officers more cost effective and efficient? I would welcome a discussion on this point. I would welcome the following 2024 budget analysis using the spreadsheet format using the following columns. So I'm talking about columns here. So the column on the most right or left, I mean, would be the 2023 budget, items related to growth, wage and fringe increases, additional new hires, additional services/service level increases.
Harold, you have 1 minute remaining.
Thank you. Other 2024 budget. I would like to make a presentation to the police board on November 15th also. Thank you.
So thank you, Harold, for your presentation. And you have been in past years one of the delegations that's often come to police board, as I recall. We have another public input meeting on November the 8th. On November the 15th, WRPS board will deal with the budget. It will be presented November 22nd to the region and finalized on December 15th. So there's still lots of runway to make comment, and you should always feel free. And anybody who is listening or is on the line, if you want to do a written submission, you're more than welcome to do that. Do we have any questions?
May I make a comment? Are all the police board members on this call?
Yes, they are.
I didn't know that. Thank you.
Tony Giovanazzo has his camera off, but he is listening, and otherwise all of the police board members are on.
Thank you.
So I heard you specifically talking about streamlining and a request for analysis. So we will take that under advisement. And I don't have a response to that right now, but we are taking notes. So I appreciate you coming, Harold, and it's always good to see you. The next,
I'm
sorry?
willing to pass this on to Megan if that's what you want. I'm willing to pass my presentation on to Megan, email,
Thank you. Okay.
if that's what you want.
It's up to you, but we will make sure that board members get it if you have a written submission. The next delegation is Tricia Wharton. And Tricia, welcome. You have 5 minutes. And I'm assuming that you're coming as an individual because I don't see any group behind your name, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Welcome. You have 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Well, hello, everyone. And again, as Charlie mentioned, thank you for putting this presentation opportunity together. I think it's important that people have, even as individuals, the opportunity to have some comments or questions. What struck me is when I'm taking a look at the budget situation and just what's happening in the community at large is how I'm going to say the wellness side of things are being addressed with basically the mental health issues that are being encountered either through, situations with the homeless, opioid situations, mental health issues in and of itself. And I understand that there is some, what's what I'm looking for, activity through what's called an impact team, which is not really described in detail, that does address this particular aspect of policing because, again, if we're looking at the police budget, are there better ways to deliver services that might need more specialized training? So that's kind of where I'm thinking of is, from what I gather from the 2023 budget situation, that the total crime severity index has gone up from 59.19 in 2012 to 79 in 2021, which is 34% increase. So, obviously we have some major issues that we have to take a look at. And I understand that also our number of officers per 100,000 people in 2012 was 145.8, and it's now dropped to 127.1. So that's going to be a significant issue is how do we address when we have less people per 100,000 when we have, as Harold mentioned, 90% of the budget being allocated to wages. So with continual escalation of wages, it just makes it that much harder to figure out how to spread this budget to make it more effective. So one of the questions I had is the clearance rate also is lower than the median average. So ours is 28% versus 36.8. So what is taking place to address our clearance rates? Because again, of the personnel shortages that we're encountering to basically, again, increase the effectiveness. So the direction of the mental health calls is again, it's increasing. So we have a situation where it's not just traditional policing that's taking place. So given society, the pandemic, the housing affordability, all of these various factors that are continuing to become even more of a problem, that's going to put even more pressure on police resources. So again, I guess my concern is how are we addressing that? Because police are meant to be seen as a help situation and protective. However, I just recently had a situation where I had a tire blowout on the highway and I managed to go across 4 lanes of traffic. I did not hit anything or a concrete abutment that I was up next against. Everything was fine except my tire had blown out from some garbage truck that had gone by with stuff. But a police officer was called, and when they showed up, the first thing they said was, so you lost control of your car, did you? And I just looked at this individual and I thought, that's really not a great way to address me in this situation. You didn't ask, how am I? This, that, and the other thing. It was just basically an accusation. And so if the public who are already in some sort of a crisis situation are looking at this saying, you should be here to help me, but instead I'm feeling nervous or concerned, then, that's not a great approach. So I'm just concerned that we utilize our resources properly and we get the right kind of training, but also the
Tricia,
right
you have
people
a
at the
minute
right-
left.
Yeah, the right people at the right time to address the calls, because I don't know necessarily that sending police to particular situations is always the best use of their time and ability, and the additional challenges that creates for the police officers in dealing when we maybe should have more social services types of individuals, being present as well. So just an expansion perhaps on that information would be very good, because there's nothing in detail that's noted on that.
So Tricia, thank you very much. Specifically about the impact program and the differentiated staffing that respond. I'm wondering if the chief would like to comment on that. And we would also be very happy, I think it's on our website, but we can send you our annual report that outlines a lot of the things that you've covered. Chief, do you want to touch on the impact program?
Thanks very much for your input, your ideas and your questions. So yeah, there's no doubt that mental health concerns continue to rise across this community and across Ontario and Canada. So in addition to our impact team, which is our co-response model with professionals from the Canadian Mental Health Association, we also have something called the Crisis Call Diversion Program, and that's seeking to divert calls to other professionals and capacities and resources in our community right from the source of dispatch. So we're looking to find alternative source of response. I'm very proud to say that our region, with the Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan, has identified addressing mental health needs as one of the top priorities. So over the next months and probably the next couple of years, we'll be working across sectors with institutions, organizations, seeking to find alternative mental health response models. And those may involve police-free models. We're looking around the world, around the country, at what can best meet the needs of our community to address all the issues that you have highlighted today, to enhance our total capacity and the endless need for increased training, in terms of understanding, compassion, and the work that we do is paramount and top of mind for us as a police service. So everything you've mentioned today is taken in good heart with us, and we agree that this is an important resource for how we respond to mental health needs in our community. So there's a lot of work to do and a lot of good work that is already happening. So thank you.
Yeah, just one other quick thing to add to that is also domestic violence, and especially coming out of the pandemic, how much that has been an increase. And again, that's, ties into the mental health issues, because I have experienced that. And I know how difficult it is to be in that kind of situation and, getting the appropriate help for when it's, critical situation. So yeah, I appreciate it's a very tough job. And again, if we're applying different kinds of resources, to me, that's a step in the right direction. So very good.
So Tricia, again, thank you very much for coming in. And the chief didn't mention this, but the community safety and well-being, another focus is domestic or intimate partner violence as well, because we recognize that that's an epidemic right now. So thank you very much for your thoughtful presentation. The next delegation, and colleagues, I don't see anybody else asking for a question. So the next delegation is John Whalett, representing Property Taxpayers Alliance. John, welcome. You have submitted a presentation and you have 5 minutes. The floor is yours.
Yes, thank you, Chair Redmond, for the opportunity to present. We meet again. We met at the Chamber of Commerce meeting. Yes, I am representing the Property Taxpayers Alliance. We are a nonprofit organization created by a number of concerned residents. Our mission is to advocate for efficient and effective use of our members' hard-earned property tax dollars. The Property Taxpayers Alliance supports a strong police force. We want to make that very clear. But at what cost and how fast? And what can property taxpayers reasonably afford? Property taxes are rising at unprecedented rates, and the Waterloo Region Police's portion of that budget is a whopping 31%. Regional property taxes will be up 60% by 2024, since 2017. Inflation will have risen 27% for this period. This means residents will have faced 33% increase over and above inflation in property taxes by 2024, 33%. Many people's incomes are not keeping up with inflation. Most private sector property taxpayers, working and especially retirees, have been falling further and further behind inflation for years. This means the real increase in tax burden for them is much higher than 33%. Regional property taxpayers are being stressed financially by a combination of inflation, job losses, municipal property tax increases, and regional property tax increases rising faster than their incomes year after year. What's the message here for our residents, especially those who are struggling, retired or widowed homeowners that are struggling? The latest Waterloo Region Police Services and regional spending plans indicate there's no end in sight, but rest assured there will be. The current growth rates in regional property taxation are mathematically not sustainable. I have a graph here, if you can show the graph. It's a picture of the budget regional property tax increases. Now I'll make a point on the 2004 number. It may be a little bit high. I think it'll come in around 10%, because I think when I put this together, the information that I had was based on a proposed budget. It's been adjusted since, but with the Waterloo Region Police portion added in, it's about 10%. But you can see that it's rising like a hockey stick. And 2017, 18, 19, and as Richard, who is the president of our group, has told me, I shouldn't get too carried away here on this graph, but it's a serious thing. There's a lot to be concerned about this. And in Cambridge, their property taxes have gone up since 2012 to 2022, on average by twice the inflation rate. And we would all agree, I'm sure, that mathematically this is not sustainable. But based on the current spending, there's no end in sight. Next. So we've made some recommendations. We've gone through the police budget. We are strong supporters of strong policing. But the Waterloo region needs to grow its numbers of officers with the rising population and sadly rising crime rates. Waterloo Regional Police Services has used the national average of 181 officers per 100,000 population, and Ontario's average of 174. There's comparisons in the budget and in the recent article published in the Waterloo Record. This is a bit overplayed. In 2023, there were 833 officers, or 142 officers per 100,000 after the hiring of the 18 officers. Actually 19. Based on the Waterloo region population of 586,000. Ontario regions with populations in crime stats similar to Waterloo's have an average number of officers about 150 per 100K. Toronto has 168 per 100K with 3 million population. So based on this information, we need about 46 more officers today. Absolutely. The PTA proposes a reduction in the planned 18 new officers in 2024 and 2025 to 9 new officers in 24, and each year thereafter until we reach the target 150 per 100K population. This will reduce the Waterloo Regional Police Services portion on the regional property tax burden for 2024 and beyond. We believe similar cuts need to be taken across all the departments of the regional government.
John, you have 1 minute remaining.
A lot of effort needs to go in to bring this down. For the Waterloo region, we're suggesting remove or push out as many pie. There's a lot of pie in the sky, strategic this, strategic that. Strategy is important, but let's not get carried away with it. We need to focus on achieving excellence in the existing services that taxpayers are expecting and we're already paying for, like policing. Work cooperatively with municipalities to reduce redundancy. Services should be delivered in the most efficient and effective way. Contract out services to the private sector, contract out grass cutting to benefit property taxpayers, even if it means, sadly, some regional and municipal job losses. We cannot afford these continued increases. Work cooperatively with municipalities to achieve combined long-term property taxation target that on average does not exceed inflation. Property taxpayers' incomes and ability to pay are rising at or below inflation rate. And last, large spending decisions that might cause property tax to exceed inflation for more than a few years, there should be a requirement that is put to a referendum and popular vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. Thank you for finishing up in a record time. Are there any questions of the delegation? So thank you very much, John. Appreciate all the effort you made, and we all have, each of us has your slide deck if we want to refer back to it. So thank you very much. The next
Chair
delegation.
Redmond. Thank you.
Thank you. The next delegation is Zeri Zagetta, representing Kinbridge Community Association. Zeri, welcome, and you have 5 minutes. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair Redmond. Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Zeri, and I work as an co-executive director at Kinbridge Community Association. We are located in south of Cambridge in the two neighborhoods of Southwood and Christopher Champlain. And my request or hope today's conversation is just to highlight a few things regarding the budget. So we provide different services for the residents of Cambridge and the region at large within community development and running different programs that are essentially beneficial for the community, that are programs that the community requested for the community by the community. And it's from anywhere from children all the way to older adults. And we have our newcomers and youth social enterprises as well. However, we have a fantastic story that happened this summer with one of the police officers, Adam Metcalf. He supported our Southwood neighborhood where we have a basketball court in that area that has been neglected for the last several years, and we've tried to upgrade it. And it's just with COVID and everything that's been happening, it was difficult to get to it. However, with his help and also some support from other community organizations, we're able to upgrade it and utilize that space. And now it's one of the, I guess, hotspots in our area, and it's been completely changed, that it's safer, it's more open, has all the right resources to make sure that it's a safe space for children to utilize. What I'm hoping for, though, is one thing that Adam was able to do is he would come semi-regularly to our services and programs and just build a relationship with our community, and that way creates a more trusting relationship with our neighborhoods and our the youth that we work with. And our hope is if that something can be more embedded within Waterloo Region Policing, if we can have community resource officers, or I'm not sure what the terminology would be, that they would attend on a regular basis. And we do this with Family and Children Services, so it's not more if a reactionary process, rather it's a proactive process. So it's building trust, working with the youth. There's nobody's in trouble, nothing is wrong. It's just that the ability to come to different programs. And the idea behind it is it's not they're scheduled and to come in once a week and then they get pulled last minute because of X, Y, and Z. Rather, this be a core time within their week that they're able to come and build that relationship. And we have seen a change from different services and service providers that once they come in regularly to our services, it's that trust genuinely does help foster certain hesitations or problems that might have existed. So that's something that Waterloo Region Police can potentially implement. And we would welcome the conversation. We would love to figure out how that would work. And we can start as small as one person per site and then go from there. But that's something that I would want to present to you today. Thank you.
Zeri, thank you very much. Chief, I don't know if you're one of the deputies. Can you maybe highlight just quickly some of the focus on youth programs and initiatives that are happening at WRPS that very much speak to what Zeri's talking about?
Thanks very much for your input, your delegation, and also your community leadership. Had the honor to meet Zeri last week at a community event, and I know the great work that's happened at Cambridge and around the partnerships, across programming in Cambridge and across Waterloo region. So this is certainly a conversation we're having here that we want to strengthen this. We're putting together a youth engagement strategy to address the exact issues that you're highlighting today. So I will look forward to following up with you to see how we can strengthen our connections, our mutual care for young people, youth in our community. And your ideas are exactly where we want to be. We want proactive, positive engagements with young people that are meaningful, lasting, sustainable, and help to address, community health needs in our community. So we really appreciate your input, your delegation, and your work in partnership. So thank you very much. We'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zeri. I see no further questions from the board. So I want to thank all the delegations who came and let you know that written submissions are welcome. Tricia,
Yeah, just a quick follow-up to Zari's presentation and Mark's response. That's the kind of thing I was talking about, is the proactiveness, whether it's with youth or whether it's with different types of individuals. So I'm glad to hear that that's the case, because I think so much can be undertaken by taking an active approach before situations develop. And so I think, again, you know, when you take a look at the overall budget in the end of the scheme of things, if we can put more resources in a restricted capacity, obviously, but towards prevention of situations, then again, with all of the challenges that people are facing, I think that's really great. So I'm glad to hear that Cambridge is working on some things in that regard, and that the police services is actively creating programs to facilitate that. So again, thank you very much for that, and look forward to seeing further developments.
So thank you all very much for providing the input to the board. It's very important as we go forward. And again, if you want to submit something in writing and you haven't, please do. We'll make sure all board members and the senior leadership get a copy of it. So on behalf of the Police Services Board, I want to thank you all and all who are listening, and for your interest in this important piece of board work when we look at the budget for 2024. And with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved by Doug, seconded by Ian. All those in favor?